You know how you can tell that a tortilla is made with love and it is homemade? It ain't round no more. I promise you.
What happened to that one?
It's Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New Hampshire. But folks, there is a secret ingredient into making these easy tortillas that's going to blow your mind. Stick around, we're even going to throw a quesadilla in there at the end. You know, when you go to a Mexican restaurant and you eat, always judge it by three things. Number one, is the parking lot full? Number two, do they know how to make rice and beans? The third thing, and the most important, are their tortillas homemade? And you always going to get a better taste when you make them from scratch. And Shan come up with this secret recipe a long time ago. Do we want to tell them now,
no,
Shan?
It's a secret ingredient. They have to wait.
Yes. And folks, these are the best tortillas ever going to make. And as a bonus, I'm going to show you how I make my favorite quesadillas to go along with it. So let's just get right into it. All-purpose flour, 3 cups. To that, we need to add a little baking powder. Don't take much, about a teaspoonful. Little dab of salt. I like to go ahead and mix this right off the bat. All the dry is mixed together, so it is time to add. I think traditionally it would have been hog lard or maybe like Crisco, some kind of shortening like that. But the secret ingredient really is what? Shan come up with it herself, she did. Bacon grease. Now make sure this is chilled, not hot bacon grease. And we're gonna get it all in there because I don't want to leave none of it out. Folks, this is the difference maker in homemade tortillas, I will promise you. And just go to breaking that bacon grease down in there because we want it all mixed really well in here. Now when you fry a bunch of bacon at home and you want to save it, strain that stuff before you put it in the cup. But if you leave a little bit of them bacon bits in there, these tortillas ain't gonna mind. We have done this recipe when we was a little short on bacon grease, used half Crisco, half bacon grease. I've also used manteca that you can buy in the store. But folks, you have to usually buy a big old tub of it that's about that tall. You can see that that is pretty well incorporated. We still got a few chunks in there, but we're gonna get that all bound together because what's going in it next is some hot water, and that's gonna get all this blended really well. You don't want it boiling hot, but I do prefer it hot. And we're gonna use 1 cup. We won't be holding on to this metal cup too long. That is 1 right there. Thank you, Bertha. Then, spoon, spatula, something, just to get it started till we can get our hands back in it. That's gonna go to melting that what's left of any bacon grease clumps and incorporate it into that flour really well to where we're gonna get that great flavor out of it. We flour them hands just a little. You just keep kneading that dough around there a little. Make sure you pull up all that flour off the bottom of the pan. So you need to knead this about 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm gonna get it out of that bowl because we've got all the goodness of the flour out of there. I'm gonna stand over here because the wind's not blowing in my favor and I didn't want to get completely dusted. Put me a little coating on right there. Just knead her over, roll it up, keep kneading. That is what I call just right. There is no telling how many tons of dough I've made, whether it be pie dough or biscuits. Shan has made more tortilla dough than I have, but this feels really good. I'm gonna let her put her hand on it since she is the expert of this. Put your little paw out there. Don't that feel good?
Oh, that feels good.
Yes, it does. So
and smell it. That's what I love.
Ooh.
I love a tortilla smell.
It makes you think breakfast is cooking.
Like,
yeah,
guys, that's it.
It is so easy. We're gonna put this in a plastic bag. It needs to rest right there about 10 to 15 minutes. I don't want it to stick to this bag nowhere, Mage, so we're just gonna give it just a little coating. Put her in here, is that all right with you? You keep an eye on it for me? Do you like tortillas? I think you do. And folks, as a bonus, since we've got them homemade tortillas, I'm gonna show you how to make my favorite quesadilla with 3 kinds of cheese on it. Well, that tortilla dough is setting. We're gonna take us 1 pound of 80/20 ground beef from the good folks at the Lazy T Ranch up there. Folks, I've eaten a lot of hamburger in my life, but this is probably the best hamburger meat I have ever eaten in my life. So we're just gonna chop that up good, get it to browning. And folks, you know, you make quesadillas, you hear of them all the time. Steak quesadillas, chicken quesadillas, rattlesnake quesadillas, possum quesadillas. Everybody like a quesadilla. Well, you know, sometimes I like to watch my budget. So I didn't want no chicken. I wanted some ground beef, which is a little cheaper than steak fajitas. Well, we begin to brown a little, we have. So I got, I'd say 1 medium-sized white onion, diced or chopped, Shan, what is that? We always have this.
Finely chopped.
Okay, we always have this big discussion we do about what it is. Now to that, I'm gonna go ahead and add us a little of our mesquite seasoning because it has a little ancho chili in it. We're gonna get them onions to browning up. We're getting closer all the time to making a quesadilla. Browning up pretty nicely we are. I'm gonna add some of our taco seasoning. I used this one time in a video and people said, why would you not just put the regular stuff in there? It's got all the regular stuff like cumin, oregano, what is that other? Let me see. Cumin, oregano. I can't read them. I ain't got my glasses on. What is that I'm looking for? I don't know. We're gonna give it a pretty good sprinkling around here we are. Now this is one recipe too that you're making here that you can also test your seasoning after this simmers for a little bit.
Did you drain the grease?
No, the grease cooked down. On good 80-20 meat, when you cook it long enough and it's just right, you get rid of that grease. If it was really greasy on the bottom or you was swimming in this much, you know, I'd say you better spoon that stuff out of there. You're fitting to have a cholesterol problem, I think. A lot of recipes you say, they will say add some tomato paste. I'm just gonna use our what? Our good red hatch salsa right here, I am. Doesn't take much. I just want a little to give it a little flavor. A little flavor. Yeah, a flavor and some flavor. If you don't have this, use your favorite salsa of any kind. Use a little hot sauce. Now would it be a good time to put in these 2 garlic cloves right here close to the last. In the recipe, I said if you want it spicy, use both of them. If you want it just right, just use one. Am I gonna de-seed it, de-vein it? No, I'm not. I'm just gonna grate it in here with this cheese grater because it's all gonna blend together and it's gonna give it a great flavor it is. Ain't it, Mage? I know it will. When you got all that in there, we need to just put this on a low simmer for about, I'd say 4 minutes. Let all them flavors incorporate, and then you taste it at that time when you get ready. Does it need a little more taco seasoning? Need another 14 jalapenos? You throw them in there. Meat sitting over there minding its own business. This is set about, I'd say nearly close to 15 minutes, so we're just gonna get her out there, and the smell that comes out of that sack, ma'am, I am telling you, it is so good. We're gonna put it as a little flyer. Go ahead and get it over here. Now you can make these any size you want. So I'd say golf ball size, Shan, pretty close to right.
Are you making a big one?
Well, I'm gonna make it about that size right there. And when you're making tortillas, when you begin to roll them out, them edges can crack and come out all different kinds of shapes and sizes. So if you'll work that dough in your hand just a minute, make sure it's good and soft, flatten it just a little, roll them edges around there under it, it'll keep that from happening quite as bad if it does at all. Then we're just gonna put them down here, give them a little coat of flour both sides, get your favorite rolling pin, and just go to rolling.
Here's the test. Can you do it round?
I like to roll them over, get the other side a little bit. Can they be round or will they look like New Hampshire? I do not know. But
I don't even know what New Hampshire looks like.
Well, I have made some that aren't round, I promise you. You know, you can get these whatever thickness you want them to be, but I prefer to go a little bit on the thinner side because it does have a little pinch of that baking powder in there, so you're going to get just a little bit of pop. So I would say that was pretty good for me, Shan.
Let me see the roundness of it.
Pretty good for me.
Let me see.
Pretty good for me.
Good.
If I can get it in here, and we'll go to making another. This is close to Rhode Island, I think, so we're gonna try to maybe even that out just a tad, but it'll eat just the same, I promise you. You know how when you work on something sometime and you think, well, that ain't gonna work, so then you come back with your paintbrush and you trim it up just a tad, you know, because I mean,
You were doing so good there. for a
yeah,
minute.
I think that looks pretty good now. So. You doing this in the house? Go ahead and get that burner on high. Set that cast iron skillet on there because folks, you can turn this down a little bit later when things go to cooking, and that's what we're after. So you can spray it that first time. You usually don't have to. I'm not going to use a skillet because I don't want to have to clean one up. I'm just going to go right here on old Bertha. We'll get this first one out of here. It's got a little wrinkle in it, but I think it's going to be all right. That one is New Hampshire.
That's Ohio, actually.
Ohio. So you can see it's beginning to swell up here just a little bit, make us some little freckles. So the main thing you could do to hurt one of these is overcook it. So we're going to go ahead. Bertha's pretty hot. You want to leave these pliable. That's what we're after. If you get a really big bubble in there like this one right here, you can pat it down. This one is ready to come off there. Because remember, when we're making a quesadilla, we're going to cook them again here in a little bit too. It don't take long to cook these when your iron is hot. So this one here is what I'd call ready to go. Now you can see that's still pliable. You get them too crispy, they won't bend. They ain't worth nothing that way. This here was sort of an extra, and I wanted to make sure. They're so good. Puppies, hey, come here. Hello? So I better get busy because,
Duke's right there.
oh, Tortilla?
Behind you.
No, Duker. How about you, Cletus? Made you get it. We got some Monterey Jack, some mozzarella, and some cheddar. I'm gonna put them right over here where I can get to them handy. So I'm gonna slide that right there. Get my cheese over here. We're gonna put a little layer right here on the bottom of all three because I think quesadilla got the word meaning in it that it's gotta have some cheese. So we're gonna have plenty of that. Folks in Wisconsin are saying, got to have some cheese. We're gonna add us a little meat to this, because we want to make sure that everybody don't just bite in there and get cheese. We're getting some meat to go with it. Now, you could fold that over, but there would be nothing to bind those two together. So we need to have some more cheese, don't you think, Mage? And some of this kind of cheese. Now we're going to take our spatula and we're going to fold this one over. We're going to give it a mashing right here so we can turn this side over. But you can get this as brown and as crisp as you want it now because that tortilla was pliable when we started and we could fold it. I just like mine to where they got a little crispness to the outside. We'll let them cool. We're gonna make the rest of them and I'm gonna eat them. I mean, if I can do that, y'all can do that, I promise you. Most easiest thing in to make homemade tortillas and with that bacon grease in there. And you can put anything for the filling in a quesadilla. But I want y'all to look. While I was finishing cooking, don't that look like teeth marks?
I had a bite.
People are always on me. How come Shan don't never get to eat? We have left evidence that Shan has been here. Folks, I'm gonna tell you right now, got a little bite in it. That's the way I like it. If you don't want that, leave that jalapeno out of there or take the seeds and the stem out before you grate it. But star of the show, two things. That Lazy T hamburger meat, but really, it is Shan's homemade flour tortillas with bacon grease. Well, hope y'all enjoyed, because me and the pup sure did. Thank you, Jesus, for bringing that there cloud in here and covering up that ball of fire. It was already 100 degrees, so I appreciate it, I do. But it is with great pride, honor, and privilege that I tip my hat to all the servicemen and all the women and all the veterans that have kept that old flag of flying over camp. We commend you all. Rest of you, come on in here close. Get up here a little closer, a little bit closer. Come on, come. Big old bear hug. God bless you, each and every one, and I'll see you down the homemade tortilla quesadilla trail.
Is that a lightning cloud?
Uh-huh. Lightning cloud or storm cloud. Yeah. I just hope
It's lightning over there.
I hope it does something wet cloud.